The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
And I get the feeling you've been cheated.
It is Monday, March 17th, 2025. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, White House denies, or really lies, about ignoring a court order halting deportation planes. Meanwhile, Trump invokes the Alien Enemies Act. Doctor, professor deported despite a court order. The NIH now advising mRNA to be scrubbed from any grant applications. On Friday, Saturday, Trump launches massive airstrikes on Yemen. It's the now officially poorest country in the world. Chuck Schumer sadly postpones his book tour as Democratic Party favorability at an all-time low following Schumer's massive capitulation to Donald Trump. Doge cutting Los Alamos scientists. They deal with nuclear stuff.
Yeah.
Trump now claiming Biden's pardons are void because his signature was done by a robo-signer. Voice of America goes dark, essentially. All journalists put on leave. And the judge who ordered the rehiring of probationary employees says OPM head's failure to testify is a direct defiance of the court. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. Sorry we got a little bit of a late start today.
That's all right. I don't know why I'm saying that's all right. We're supposed to be apologizing to them, but it should be all right.
Well, if you give the blessing,
I'm playing the part.
There she is. If Emma gives the blessing, then it's all good.
Everyone says that.
Folks, we've got a lot to cover today on the program. Last we left you, the vote was still up in the air in the Senate.
Yep.
And ultimately, 10 Democrats ended up voting for cloture, allowing essentially, at that point, voting, in fact, for the inevitability of the Republican funding bill to go forward. It's not a continuing resolution. It is significantly different enough from just passing a continuing resolution, which is, we're just going to do this budget as is going forward, which in and of itself would have been bad enough. Even if there was a clean continuing resolution, the idea that the Democrats wouldn't have used keeping the government open as a leverage point, really their last leverage point, to get Doge to stop what they were doing, which was a rolling shutdown of the government. Even in that instance, that would have been bad enough. But this so-called continuing resolution, which in fact wasn't, not only did it cut to existing programs, not only did it add to defense, and to be honest, like not enormous amounts of money, but enough. It also said that Congress has no role in approving or denying tariffs by Donald Trump, essentially inoculating all the Republican senators, all the Republican House members from having responsibility on the tariffs. So they could say it's up to the president. We have no say in it.
As they duck town halls, as constituents are infuriated about what the administration is doing and how it's affecting the economy, which affects their lives, but also literally sometimes resulting in the firing of people that voted for them.
And it also funds agencies that are no longer operable. Therefore, essentially, and it explicitly allows Trump to take that money and appropriate it in other places. So this is a complete usurpation of Congress's ability to appropriate in two different ways. One, because they statutorily allow for it. And two, because it doesn't address what's going on with Doge. And then recall, and we will get to this later in the program, what Schumer's sort of whole theory is about this. But we will get to this stuff later. I just...
it's hard not to
I know.
Get on
all of a sudden, it just... Exactly. But in the meantime, over the past 3 days, we have seen, perhaps emboldened by the fact that Chuck Schumer capitulated in this fight with Trump. I mean, it would have been a lot harder politically to justify what is going on with immigration over the past 3 days and immigrants if people were afraid of losing fundamental essential services, but still essentially, in some instances, torturing, rendering different green card holders, etc., had gone on. This is a video of a rapid response video of supposed Venezuelan gang members being deported and imprisoned in El Salvador.
This was tweeted out by the Trump, like their Truth Social, but also their White House account, which is this Rapid Response 47 thing that tweets out basically state propaganda for Donald Trump.
Now understand, these people were sent to El Salvador in 3 planes that while they were in the air, and it has now been shown by flight records, that they defied a court order. A judge had specifically said, Judge Boasberg had issued an order. Oh, I've lost it here now.
Essentially, if you want me to fill in the gaps
Please.
here, Trump signed this order on Friday, and it was kept very quiet because they wanted to get the logistics in place to transport these around 250 Venezuelan immigrant men to El Salvador, where Bukele is notorious for essentially prison labor, putting their prisoners to work for no pay and extraordinarily harsh conditions. So even Guantanamo Bay, it appears, was a little bit too close to the eye of the public for Donald Trump. He prefers to outsource the detention of these people to an alt-right maniac in El Salvador.
The worst part about this, though, is, in addition, obviously, if you're one of those people, that the plane bringing these was ordered halted, and the Trump administration ignored it.
Yeah.
And then later claimed it was already over
international
waters, and therefore a judge's requirement of the U.S. government has no effect, which of course is, I mean, contemplate what the implications of that, if that were true, and no one thinks it's true. It would mean that anytime,
that Trump's in Air Force One, say a judge's order doesn't apply to him.
Or a military personnel is, deployed, or somebody's on a cruise liner. It's absurd. National Security Attorney Mark Zaid wrote on X, court order defied. First of as many I've been warming and start of a true constitutional crisis. White House said this is headed to the Supreme Court and we're going to win.
Well, we can get to why maybe he's right in just a second, but Do you want to play this? This is
Yes, this is the
basically propaganda. And they show, I don't know if we see this part, but they show them shaving the heads of these men. Here you go. So this is footage of a
Again, this
prison
is,
bus.
Leni Riefenstahl made this footage. This is Trump's propaganda team.
Yep. And the truth says these are the monsters sent into our country by crooked Joe Biden. Here you go. And then you can see this.
Radical left Democrats.
Always a...
These prison guards have their whole faces covered.
Yeah,
and
why
they're
are their faces covered?
I mean, I'm sorry, but shaving people's body hair, this evokes some of the worst instances of genocide, of human rights abuses in our history. They're claiming that these men are Tren de Aragua, a gang, which Trump immediately classified when coming... I mean, this footage. Immediately classified as a terrorist organization when coming into office. But there's been at least one lawyer who's raised the alarm of one of these men who was transferred there, who says, actually, he was seeking asylum, my client. I think we're good on this.
Yeah.
Seeking asylum, my client, because he was an LGBTQ person in Venezuela and was a tattoo artist. So he had a bunch of tattoos on him. And the Trump administration is reportedly claiming that because of these tattoos, that he is a part of this prison gang. But he was supposed to have a hearing on Monday, one of these men, with proof that he was not a part of Tren de Aragua. And it's an interesting piece. It's an interesting, it's interesting timing that the Trump administration did this when they did it.
Again, this is the administration is, and as you can see, do we have this up? The judge, Boasberg, ordered deportation flights carrying these alleged Venezuelan gang members to return to the U.S. and blocking Trump from invoking the Alien Enemies Act. What is the Alien Enemies Act? It is an act, and we mentioned this earlier, I guess last week. From 1798.
But it was first used in the War of 1812.
It was used in the War of 1812, and then it was used again in World War I, and then in World War II. Now, those are the only 3 times it's been used. Do you see the pattern? The War of 1812, World War I, and World War II.
And in World War II, it was used to detain and intern Japanese Americans.
Yes, to put them in concentration camps.
Yeah, it was horrible.
But the invocation of this act, again, War of 1812, World War I, World War II. And it has not been invoked since then, or prior to those times. It is, again, only used in those instances in rather horrible ways. According to the statute, the president may invoke the Alien Enemies Acts in times of declared war or when the foreign government threatens or undertakes an invasion, that's a quote, or predatory incursion against U.S. territory. In the War of 1812, the idea of predatory incursion was a fear of essentially, sleeper cells.
The French.
The
Federalists were concerned about the French.
Now, let's remember when it wasn't invoked. In the wake of 9/11, when there was a lot of talk of sleeper cells in the United States, because we had just seen so-called sleeper cell actually engage in a series of massive terrorist attacks against the country. So you may be asking yourself, why does he get to invoke this? And that's also what a bunch of lawyers are asking. The problem is that our law is only as ensconced as the particular court that they go to decides it will be. And at the Supreme Court, the president is counting on the idea of the Supreme Court essentially saying, we will not get involved in this because of the doctrine of political questions. This is essentially the political question doctrine essentially allows the Supreme Court to avoid addressing things when they don't want to.
Right.
And the problem is that there is no criteria that is any more specific than the idea of an incursion that is predatory. You will note that over the past several years, we have seen right-wingers, we have seen the president of the United States, we have seen conservatives, we've seen even some wayward former progressive shows and media outlets claim that we are being invaded by immigrants. Now, no matter how you define that, pull up that graph I just sent in the IM. It's surrounded by, it's right, the last thing I sent in the IM. This is from these hippies over at the U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
Oh, so much wokeness in our government. How can we get that out?
Southwest land border encounters. Because oddly, we don't hear how we're being invaded by the Canadians. But look at scroll down to this graph here. You will notice there are different color-coded lines here. And we have 2025 is that red line that's down at the bottom. That is dramatically lower than any of the other lines, which are in the past 3 years. In terms of the annual, or I should say, Southwest land border encounters by month.
And a continuation of 2024, I would point out.
Exactly. In 2024, at no point, except for I think like briefly at the beginning of, or I should say at the end, somehow that says December, but that's got to be December 2025. Oh, fiscal year.
They're looking at.
So that's the end of, these are fiscal years.
Yep.
That's the end of 2023. But even if you were to go back, but regardless, the point is that right now in 2025 and in the last 7-8 months of 2024, the land border encounters by month in the Southwest have been dramatically lower than they had been prior. I don't know how you justify an invasion or a predatory incursion when there are 12,000 border incursions or encounters.
Right.
But a tenth what there had been previously.
A tenth of what there had been.
But the problem with this statute is that it's particularly vague, right? So like, because it was, it's a late, 1700 statute. The Brennan Center for Justice writes that the term invasion is used literally, typically referring to large-scale attacks. The term predatory incursion is also used in writings of that period to refer to slightly smaller attacks like the 1781 raid on Richmond led by American defector Benedict Arnold. Today, some anti-immigration politicians and groups urge a non-literal reading of invasion and predatory incursion so that the Alien Enemies Act can be invoked in response to unlawful migration, etc. So the question is, does the Supreme Court grant them, when this inevitably goes there, the broad definition of what an invasion and incursion is? And if they do that, that is such a terrifying precedent that gives the president basically broad powers under this authority to determine, I don't know, anything as a potential invasion or incursion based on his political enemies. And that's what the fear is the fact that this can really mean a lot under this definition. If if those numbers constitute an invasion and incursion, there are many things that can.
Right. There's absolutely no limiting principle to this. If there's no criteria and land border encounters can be at a fraction. In December of 2023, there were 300,000. In February, there were 12,000. That's 1/30th.
Yeah.
Am I math right there?
I can't. I'm not the person
Sorry, what
to
was
say.
it? 12.
300. We're at 12,000 versus 300,000 in 2023. That is almost 1/30th. Maybe it's 1/26th. If that can be justified as reason for the Alien Enemies Act to be invoked, then there is no criteria for it.
A rational Supreme Court would respond with this by saying the statute, the Alien Enemies Act, is lawful, but you have to apply it in conjunction with Congress and the president, or Congress declaring war and us being in active wartime. That would be the kind of thing where, like, that would be a much more good faith reading of the statute. But I have no faith that the 6-3 Supreme Court is going to read it in that manner.
So we're now in that period where, and we have more to talk about this in a moment. We're going to do some sponsors first.
Can I just point out this tweet here that was by Nayib Bukele, where he quotes the New York Post saying Feds judge orders deportation flights carrying alleged Venezuelan gangbangers. Nayib Bukele tweeted, "Oopsie, too late," crying, laughing face, and Marco Rubio retweeted that. So,
I mean,
Marco Rubio, he's the Secretary of State.
Yeah, Secretary of State, our lead diplomat.
It was probably the only adult in the room this time around, is what it's has been said, and that's the best case scenario for somebody to talk Trump off the ledge now.
A couple of sponsors today. I slept in today, actually. A tough day to do it for everybody involved, but I want to thank Cozy Earth for making my
easy.
bedding comfortable. Also, because of all that Jubilee stuff, I got everybody has seen that.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody. Saul and I went to Micro Center the other day to get Saul a gaming computer. I need to ask you some questions, Matt, about this. Some guy came up, recognized me from Jubilee, and then pointed out that I was wearing a Cozy Earth sweatshirt.
Wow. Wow.
my hoodie.
Wow. Must have made your day.
I wear that all the time. I want to thank Cozy Earth for sponsoring this episode. Cozy Earth products are designed to transform your 5 to 9, the time that matters most, into the coziest sanctuary. Unlock exclusive discount up to 40% using the code Majority Report at cozyearth.com/Majority Report. Cozy Earth, I have their sheets, I have their towels, and I have a jogger, but my sweatshirt is like my sweatshirt. My hoodie is every day. It's virtually an everyday wear for me.
It's a staple.
It's a staple. Thank you. The stuff is incredibly soft. I mean, there's something weird about the hoodie is that it's light, but it's warm. It's also cool.
It's temperature regulating.
It is. That's the way to put it. And their sheets are like that too. Mm-hmm. Their sheets are made from bamboo. Ultimately, it's really called viscose, but it's made from bamboo. That makes them incredibly soft. You would expect that it wouldn't, but it does. And they're breathable, I guess because of the viscose. But the sheets are super soft and they are temperature regulating, which is the key thing for me. I sleep hot, and if I'm too hot, I can't sleep. They are crafted for like 5-star comfort every night. They got bath sheets, super soft towels. They have the joggers are awesome. Mm-hmm. I love all of it. and it's all risk-free. You can transform your space risk-free with a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty on all Cozy Earth bedding and bath products. Love them or send them back. Trust me, though, you will not. Cozy Earth's goal is to help you turn your home into a sanctuary, a place where you can escape the outside worlds. Their sheets are super breathable, like I say. The fabric is both sustainable because bamboo is literally a weed. They have a durable weave fabric. It won't pill, guaranteed for 10 years. Like I say, Cozy Earth prides itself on responsible production. They have that 10-year warranty, and it's sustainable because bamboo is a weed. Luxury shouldn't be out of reach. Visit CozyEarth.com/Majority Report. Use our exclusive code Majority Report for up to 40% off of Cozy Earth's best-selling sheets, towels, pajamas, and more. Oh, the pajamas are really good.
Mm-hmm.
That's CozyEarth.com/Majority Report. If you get a post-purchase survey, tell them you heard about Cozy Earth right here. Sanctuary awaits at Cozy Earth. We will put the link in the podcast and YouTube description. Also, today's program sponsored by FastGrowingTrees. This is one of those companies that I was using years before, and then ultimately came to ask us to sponsor them. I was like, of course. FastGrowingTrees is the biggest online nursery in the United States. They have thousands of different plants and over 2 million happy customers. Doesn't matter what kind of plants you're interested in, FastGrowingTrees has you covered. You will find the perfect fit for your climate and space. And they have an Alive and Thrive guarantee that ensures your plants arrive happy and healthy and stay alive. Plus, they got support from trained plant experts. You can call to plan your landscape, choose the right plants, learn how to plant them, learn how to care for them. I've done a lot of apple trees with FastGrowingTrees. And the thing is about FastGrowingTrees, I don't know that they actually grow faster. Maybe they do, but you can get bigger ones, and which you never see via mail. They ship them really well. They package them really well. They stay in the box really well. And I've had apple trees that have given fruit a year later. I have apple trees, Korean pear trees. They're great. And the difference is, as opposed to buying them at a big box store, is you have a huge, huge selection of apples. And I think people know that's important to me. They have over 6,000 plants that fit any space. So you can also get like 42 different types of tall grass, or you can get acai berries. Mm. You don't have to drive around to nurseries. You don't have to drive around to big garden stores and choose plants from a limited assortment. FastGrowingTrees makes it easy to order online. Your plants are delivered to your door in just a few days. They help you with your growing area. Doesn't matter whether you're adding privacy, shade, or natural beauty to your yard. FastGrowingTrees has in-house experts ready to help you make the right selection. You don't have to worry about putting dirt in the back of your Subaru. It's a problem. Every plant comes with instructions and tips for care for your new plants so they can grow to their future full potential. Spring, they have the best deals for your yard, up to half off on select plants and other deals. And our listeners of the show get 15% off their first purchase when using the code MAJORITY at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at FastGrowingTrees.com using the code MAJORITY at checkout. FastGrowingTrees.com, code is MAJORITY. Now is the perfect time to plant. Right now, early spring, use MAJORITY as a code and save today. Offer valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. We'll put the link in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. Okay. Let's get back to this. We were talking about, I want to read this from I think it's from the Boston Globe. This is a green card holder. Guy named Schmidt. Let me see if I got it here. Here it is. All the papers have it now. Papers. Newsweek reported that the mother of Fabian Schmidt, a U.S. green card holder, said her son was stripped naked and violently interrogated and sent to an immigration and customs enforcement detention facility upon his return to the country last Friday. They claimed, this is what they said. U.S. Customs Border Commissioner of Public Affairs Hilton Beckham told Newsweek on Saturday, these claims are blatantly false with respect to CBP. He went on to suggest the incident may be related to drug charges, saying, when an individual is found with drug-related charges and tries to re-enter the country, officers will take proper action. Schmidt is a New Hampshire resident, live free or die, who's held a green card since 2008 after moving to the U.S. in 2007. He was detained at Logan Airport upon returning from Luxembourg last week. This is according to the Boston's WGBH, the public radio there. His family told the public radio station that he'd recently renewed his green card and was flagged as he re-entered the country. It was just said that his green card was flagged. She said her son was violently interrogated, stripped naked by immigration officials, and put into a cold shower. Schmidt works as an electrical engineer. He's reportedly being held at ICE's Donald Wyatt detention facility in Rhode Island. His mother said that he was also sent to the hospital last week. So this happened a week ago, but they've only just now figured out what's going on. He was sent to the hospital last week, which was the first time she had heard from him directly on Tuesday. One wonders why he went to the hospital when he'd been in custody for 4 days. Schmidt has no ongoing legal issues, but he previously had a misdemeanor charge for having marijuana in his vehicle. The charge was dismissed after laws about cannabis changed. His mother said he missed a hearing about the case in 2022 because the notice was not forwarded to his correct address. A decade ago, he had a DUI charge. Beckham, this is the speaker, the spokesperson from Newsweek, said if statutes or visa terms are violated, travelers may be subject to detention and removal due to federal privacy regulations. They basically picked out an immigrant, my guess is, from a European country, just to show that they're going to be...
This applies to everyone.
Yep. This is what's going on now for green card holders. It has come out, and it's been around for a little bit, that one of the people who was originally sent on that deportation flight to El Salvador? Down to Guantanamo, was sent to Guantanamo. Remember, it was just criminals. Because he was cited for...
it's a horrible crime. Get ready for this. Bicycling on the wrong side of the road. So, again, there's a lot of media outlets, and it's been a very, very frustrating exercise since Trump was inaugurated nearly 2 months ago, who are swallowing these claims about them targeting criminals whole. Because the problem is that these are folks who don't want outsized media attention. These are folks that are afraid if a spotlight is shown on abuses towards them, that they will be put on a list and targeted for deportation. Yeah. So the Trump administration knows this. This is how they can crack down on people who have extremely limited resources and power. So they're mostly targeting those folks. And then they're also targeting, there was a story about two Brown University professors who are being targeted for deportation. A professor and a doctor, they have been deported to Lebanon, defying a judge's order. And it appears that the justification that they're using for one of those deportations is because they're claiming that this Brown professor had sympathetic photos of Hezbollah leaders on their phone. Not really much evidence presented to this, but the physician at Brown told Customs and Border Protection agents that while visiting Lebanon last month, she attended the funeral of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah and supported him from a religious perspective, but not a political one. And so they're basically using images from her phone to justify deporting her.
Speaking of being arrested and disappeared based upon, well, in that person's case, it was just simply having photos that were deemed sympathetic on her phone. I don't know how they got a hold of those photos.
Is there a law against that?
Apparently, there's a law against that.
Being sympathetic to people?
There's also apparently a law against protest. And for now, it's if you are a legal resident as opposed to citizen. I'm sure we'll get there. At least, in a full-throated manner. But here is the footage of Mahmoud Khalil being arrested by ICE agents in front of his wife. This was posted on Friday by the ACLU via, I guess, the family.
Confirming that one of the officers was they were plain clothes. Officers.
They're all plain clothes.
Yeah.
They also don't seem to have identified themselves.
Nope.
This seems to be what ICE does. They get out of a car, an unmarked car.
Goons.
They have no identification. They don't feel obligated to tell anybody who they are. They barely mention where they're taking people if they do. Understand, aside from the optics of this, aside from the implications for the people who are being rounded up now, the idea that we're now allowing any type of plainclothes agents to grab somebody off the street without having any rules about identifying themselves is rather dangerous for the entire public.
Do you know who else were plainclothes officers that rounded up people and disappeared them? The Gestapo.
I mean, to be fair, also Stasi. You probably also get this in a lot of authoritarian countries. Here's Khalil being arrested. Of course, he didn't need to be cuffed, but they were going to. And also, you should know, a lot of these ICE agents, they are washouts from police academies in many instances. Just to give you a sense of, and now they have all sorts of power in their minds.
But this is his wife. You can hear who's filming it.
What? You're going to be under arrest. So turn around.
Okay,
Stop
let's
resisting.
not.
Stop resisting.
Okay, he's not resisting. He's giving me his phone, okay? He's not.
Now pause
He's
it.
not resisting.
Pause it. Notice the guy says you're under arrest.
What are the charges?
But we still don't know what the charges are here. Go ahead.
Is he reading him his rights?
No, I doubt it.
Okay. He's not. I understand. He's not resisting.
Put your arm behind.
There's no need for this.
Don't worry about it. You're going to have to come with us. Don't worry.
Hold on. Sorry. Pause, Matt. We're just not on the screen. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You guys really don't need to be doing all of that.
It's fine. It's fine. Come on.
Habibi, it doesn't fake.
Take Amy. Call Amy. She'll be
Okay.
fine.
Hi, Amy. Yeah, they just handcuffed him and took him. I don't know what to do. Okay. Then what should I do? I don't know.
Pause it. Just a reminder, this woman's voice you hear, she's 8 months pregnant. This is Khalil's wife.
Who's born in America.
Nor. Let me ask. Can we get a name, please? Can we get your name? I understand the lawyer is asking for your name.
Cowards, stay back.
We don't give our name.
The lawyer's asking for your name. He's saying they don't give their names.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We'll be taken to immigration custody at 26 Federal Plaza.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
We'll be taken to immigration custody at 26 Federal Plaza.
She said they're taking him to 26 Federal Plaza. Can you please specify what agency is taking him, please? Excuse me. They're not talking to me. I don't know. Excuse me. The lawyer would like to speak to somebody. Oh my God, they're literally running away from me.
Yep. He was not resisting, but Prem, I think, points this out, Prem Talker, in this caption. He's clearly not resisting at all. Is resistance asking for the names of the officers, for the agency that's doing this, for where he's going to be held?
If I sat on a jury and they're saying he was, like, why wouldn't he resist? They're not telling them anything.
Right.
They're black bagging him.
It could be anybody.
That shouldn't be, that's not lawful.
They could be impersonating a police officer.
Exactly.
They could just be somebody to come in and kidnap him. I mean, that's why we have our rights. One of the many reasons we're supposed to have rights. This is just...
It's fascism.
Fascism.
It's here.
Yep.
We don't need to allude to any historical allusions or comparisons. It's just what we have right now.
Let's turn our attention to the other story. I mean, this is going to develop. I don't know what what happens next in terms of this Boasberg class-wide temporary restraining order. But I imagine that's in effect until it is reversed by another judge. The flight to El Salvador has already happened. The White House claims it was too late for them to turn around. And so I guess the next thing is if it goes to either an appellate court or to the Supreme Court. We'll see. Noel from San Francisco says, can you have a lawyer on to discuss what to do when the authorities knock on your door? Yeah, we'll work on that.
We're working on it.
Hopefully to have someone tomorrow. Let's go back and just talk a little bit about what happened Friday. When we had left on Friday afternoon, there was, at the very least, a growing sense that there was pushback against senators who were going to vote to vote yes on cloture, basically to vote to end discussion on the Republican budget bill, which then would allow it to have an up or down vote, 50-50 vote, as opposed to the 2/3 that's required to close cloture. We had mentioned the other day that it was unlikely it was going to be a 7 vote.
Yeah.
7 Democrats would defect. They probably all would not do it unless there was more than 7, so that no one could be held individually responsible for it to be passing, right? If there's 10 people who vote for it and all they need is 7 Democratic votes, then everybody says, well, even if I hadn't voted for it, it would have passed.
Yep.
And that is by design. You will see these defections that will happen in that way.
And there's a weaselly thing that some of the Democrats that voted for this are trying to engage in right now, which is to say, I voted for cloture, but I didn't vote for the continuing resolution. A vote for cloture is a vote for the continuing resolution. It means that you're bringing it to a vote, that the hurdle of needing 60 votes to basically it's a whole, the debate process. I forget if it is to start and end debate or there's a
cloture is to end debate.
End debate, right. So basically, they're trying to say like, hey, we voted to end the debate, but we didn't vote for the continuing resolution. Oh, okay, but you just allowed it to go to a simple majority vote where the Republicans have the majority.
Yes, they know what they were doing.
Yeah, but they thought they could get away with it. That's the thing about what Schumer did over on Friday that is just so cynical, is that they think that the voters, or they thought that the Democratic voting base was dumb enough to get fooled by that trick, but they were not. And we're seeing overwhelming backlash. A poll came out on CNN that showed that the Democratic Party's polling numbers in terms of their favorability is the lowest since 1992.
We'll get to that in a second because we should note that was 10 days before this.
Yes.
And when you hear the reasons why, you will see. This is a clip from the New York Times podcast posted on Sunday. Chuck Schumer, I guess, presumably did this on Saturday or Sunday. He is doing this. Understand, this was a pre-scheduled interview with Schumer because Schumer was going on a book tour, which he has canceled.
Yep.
In fact, it's too bad because I had cleared my schedule tomorrow to go see him.
Me too.
And Richie Torres speak about anti-Semitism because, which is a topic I've become really interested in since my Twitter feed essentially became a glossary of it recently.
Some tells me they were going to focus on that.
And Richie Torres, I mean, here's a guy who must have a lot of insight to anti-Semitism. Anyways. It turns out that the interview was less about his book. And God, I can't tell you how excited I am that his book tour is going to be postponed because there is no day where Chuck Schumer, as minority leader in the Senate, can go on this book tour. I don't care if he schedules this in 2053, where I won't be at the New York one. And other people won't be protesting it.
Well, I had tweeted out all the locations to it. It kind of went a little bit viral. And then the announcement came on Monday that his book tour is being postponed because he had a location stop this evening in Baltimore. And protests were scheduled. But, there's a lot of hiding from the public that's happening right now, all from the Republicans, but also from,
except for Schumer.
Schumer as well.
I think maybe, the Baileys called me and they said they couldn't make it. So here is Schumer talking about the government shutdown. Now, we went through all of his very lame, really genuinely lame excuses and justifications for this. There is no doubt in my mind that, and I don't know if it's 10% of his decision, or 20%, or 30%, or 40%, or 50%. Of his decision was like, people don't want to hang around, through the weekend and then have to legislate this next week. People have different responsibilities. Like
I have a book to sell.
People have a book tour. But here he is with one of his lame arguments as to why this was important.
Sure. Lulu, nice to talk to you again.
Senator, a lot has happened since we spoke on Monday, and you've been at the center of most of it. In our first conversation, you said you had a plan going forward to fight Republicans, but then only a few days later, it looks like your own party is in a civil war. Do you think that you made the wrong choice?
Let me, Lulu, say this. I don't. I think it was a very, very difficult decision between two bad options. A partisan Republican CR and a shutdown that Musk and Trump wanted. For me, the shutdown of the government would just be devastating and far worse than the Republican CR. Let me explain. A shutdown would shut down all government agencies, and it would solely be
pause it. Let me just show
again.
What he's trying to do here. It is not a continuing resolution if it is fundamentally different than what the budget was last year. And it's fundamentally different in 4 or 5 ways.
Really important ones.
One, it completely eviscerates Washington, D.C.'s budget by like $1 billion. And he supposedly has said in other places, we'll go back to that. We'll deal with that later. Oh, I'm sure the Republicans will be open to that now that you've been rolled. 2, the funding levels are not the same. 3, the funding levels create actual slush funds because Doge and Elon Musk and Trump and the Republicans have been engaged in a rolling shutdown of the government.
Mm-hmm.
And so any money earmarked for those agencies suddenly becomes some type of slush fund that Trump can do other things that are not appropriated by Congress. So even to call it a continuing resolution is a lie. And he knows he has to use this lie because it sounds even worse that he just passed a Republican budget with not a single amendment, without a single negotiation, with one single vote in the House.
He's using the Republican lie.
Yep.
About that it's not continuing. It's a new, it does new things.
In CR. Let me explain. A shutdown would shut down all government agencies, and it would solely be up to Trump and Doge and Musk what to open again. Because they could determine what was essential.
Right now, it is solely up to Doge and Trump as to what they're going to allow to function. Right now, it's that way. Headline, VOA goes dark. Headline, NIH now advising grant applications to scrub any mention of mRNA, which incidentally, if you know anybody who's like working on cancer, I know actually a guy.
Yeah.
And for years, he's been like, we are close to figuring out a specific type of cancer. It's going to be mRNA. That, incidentally, that research done at the hospital that he's working at. He may have to move to a different hospital. These cuts in Los Alamos, where they take care of our nuclear weapons and engineers. There's a rolling shutdown of the government that has been going on since about the 5th day, 4th day, 2nd day, 1st day of this administration. So the idea that this is going to, that a non-continuing resolution would empower Trump and Musk to do anything differently than they're doing right now is rather specious. The only difference would be is that there would be more news about it. And I say this only because there's an inherent contradiction in what Schumer's strategy is. His strategy is to let them hang themselves, but also we don't want to give them the rope to hang themselves.
Give them a lot of slack.
Go ahead.
A shutdown would shut down all government agencies, and it would solely be up to Trump and Doge and Musk what to open again, because they could determine what was essential. So their goal of shutting down, of decimating the whole federal government, of cutting agency after agency after agency, would occur under a shutdown. It would be devastating.
Headline, Trump and Musk decide ICE is the only essential service as people go without food, as people go without SNAP, as people go without Medicaid, whatever it is. I mean, this is the nightmare scenario that Chuck Schumer imagines. Whereas now, they're just chipping away at this stuff. They're cutting the Social Security Administration.
Yeah. This is what a government shutdown would have indicated. It would have alerted people to the more subtle ways that the Trump administration is engaging in a rolling government shutdown. Because people would have felt it as opposed to it being in quiet.
2 days from now on a shutdown, they could say, well, SNAP, food stamps for kids is not essential. It's gone. All veterans offices in rural areas are gone. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, they're not essential. We're cutting them back. So it'd be horrible. The damage they can do under a shutdown is much worse than any other damage that they could do.
Pause it. They're literally doing that now. They're literally doing that now. And so Schumer's own justification for this is actually giving cover to Musk for what he's doing now. In minimizing it. Like, there is no material strategy here. There is no political strategy here. Good.
We're cutting them back. So it'd be horrible. The damage they can do under a shutdown is much worse than any other damage that they could do. Second, it can last for, wait, let me just finish, Lulu. It can last forever. There is no off-ramp. One of the Republican senators told us we go to a shutdown, it's going to be there for 6 months, 9 months, a year. And by then, their goal of destroying the federal government would be gone. And finally, one final point here, and that is that right now, under the present law or under the CR, you can go to court and contest an executive order to shut something down. Under a shutdown, the executive branch has sole power. So in conclusion, I knew this would be an unpopular decision. I knew that. I know politics. But I felt so strongly as a leader that
Did he know that? Did he think that maybe I shouldn't go on my book tour prior to doing that vote? No, I don't think he did. In fact, it wasn't until after that interview that he paused his book tour. That's weird. How did he not know that? He's been in politics for a long time.
And why
did he know that?
Yeah.
Neera Tanden, that
Jamie Harrison.
Jamie Harrison.
Every MSNBC host.
Did he know that Murphy, that Jeffries, that AOC? Like, I'm
Seth
trying
Moulton.
to do like as wide a net as possible here.
Basically every
Bill Kristol.
Every Democrat that you can think of, except the only guy he has hanging around him is Matt Iglesias. God bless that man. He will
And
defend Democratic weakness until the end of time.
All right, is there any more to that? Let's just listen a little bit more to this.
couldn't let this happen because weeks and months from now, things would be far worse than they even are today, that I had to do what I had to do.
Can I just ask you about the tactic here? Because the choice that you made to vote with the Republicans, isn't that an argument to get rid of the filibuster? You wanted to keep it when you were in the majority, but if you're not going to use it in the minority, then what's the point of it?
Good question.
The point here, again, I'll repeat what I said, would be how devastating a shutdown would be. Just think a month from now, if half the federal workers
But I'm asking about the use of the
were laid off.
filibuster.
No, but the bottom line is, if we would have, if the filibuster would have been used and the government shut down, the devastation would be terrible. Terrible. You see, we've had government shutdowns before, but never against such nihilists, such anti-government.
The question that is being asked is, the arguments have been to get rid of the filibuster so that it's just a simple majority vote. What the Democrats have been saying is we need the filibuster so when Republicans are in charge, we can stop them from doing the most harm possible to the government. This was a prime example right here where you could use the filibuster for those ends. And he didn't do it. He gave the Republicans exactly what they wanted without using the filibuster to even really, although I guess it was for a short period of time, but meaningfully shut down the government to get what they want.
And the question should be like, okay, fine, you don't think it should exist here. Why should it exist anywhere ever then? Like, why keep it around so Republicans can, when they're in your position, actually crash the government because they can stay together on this
because
stuff?
they actually use the filibuster for political leverage. So this is just an example of where they can get, or shut down the government. So this is how they show that they can get walked all over here.
Trilaflop says, I don't trust Schumer, but is he right that a shutdown would do more harm than good insofar as the president gets special powers during a shutdown that Trump could really do a lot of damage with?
Let's steel man that.
There is no doubt.
Yes.
That Trump could do a lot of damage.
Yep.
There probably would be more opportunity for court cases that Schumer says is our big savior right now in terms of what is essential or not. But the difference is that Musk and Trump are doing this now, and it's also absurd that Schumer acknowledges that Musk can do this, right?
Yep.
I mean, at the beginning of the thing, he said Musk and Trump could do this. That Musk and Trump can do during a shutdown, everything they're doing now, they're doing without Republican lawmakers feeling the brunt. They had to cancel their town hall meetings, but outside of that, they're not feeling the brunt. They're not having to step up and do anything. If what Schumer is saying is true, that he was going to cut down SNAP, he was going to cut down all of these programs, you're at least in a state where the Republicans would need Democrats to escape the political firestorm that would be created. You understand? They cannot get out of this. They can't escape it without going to the Democrats because they cannot pass a bill to fund the government. So suddenly, Trump and Musk becomes every single lawmaker in the Senate and the House. It becomes their liability.
Right.
And they're not going to be able to turn on food stamps in red states as opposed to blue states because that's a much bigger court fight and a much harder one to win. And so you have basically given away all of your political power. In other words, there is no point in you being there.
And say he's, has a crystal ball and he could see into the future 2 different realities or multiverses. I mean, to throw back to that Gestapo ICE agent wearing a Marvel t-shirt, we didn't even point that out when arresting Mahmoud Khalil. But even if he could see into the future and knew that the government shutdown would give Donald Trump and Musk more power to dismantle the federal government more than they already would, it is still political malfeasance for this reason. Can we just put up AOC's response here? Among the material devastation to everyday people, Senate Dems have now blown a hole in their ability to work with the House. We had an agreed upon plan. House took immense risk, then Senate turned around midway and destroyed it with a fear-based, inexplicable abdication. They own what happens next. What AOC is referring to is that every House member, save one, except for one, stood and held the line on this continuing resolution that is a dirty continuing resolution that gives Trump and Musk more power and Senate Republicans less accountability. That there was a plan going in, and Schumer basically fairly unilaterally and in conjunction with those other 10 abandoned that plan. And there was something that happened over the course of the past 2 weeks or something like that. And my theory is that Wall Street is panicked about the stock market and tariffs crashing and the economy, and that they made some calls to Schumer and Gillibrand because a government shutdown hurts the stock market even more. And they said this will create immense instability, and that's why he caved on this. But something happened that severed the plan between Jeffries and Schumer. So even if it ended up being correct that this would have given Donald Trump and Musk more power, it is still a complete failure of leadership that he did not coordinate with the rest of the party on a plan and put the House members in a very horrifically precarious situation where they had to put themselves out on the line, as AOC is saying, and it had some political risks because Elon Musk might spend against them, and he threw them all under the bus. So even if you're just a Democratic partisan and you don't really care about these things about fighting and creating leverage, he's hurting other Democrats. Schumer just did.
It's hard to find that person that you talk about. Usually we can find some people who is a knee jerk, who's knee jerk. He's the leader of the Senate. He must know what he's doing. It's extremely hard to even find that person. When Hakeem Jeffries was asked on the day of the vote, is it time for new Senate leadership? His response was, of course not. No, I have full faith in Chuck Schumer. Actually, no, that's what they normally give. He said, next question, please.
Yep. Because this is the problem with the Senate right now and these institutionalists there with their every 6-year terms and Chuck Schumer basically consolidating power. They are much more insulated from the democratic will of the people. And it shows. Who is Chuck Schumer serving here? It's not the rest of the members of his party.
This is from Sahil Kapoor at 10:52 p.m. Friday night. Maybe 2 hours after the vote. I can't remember when the vote ended up happening. Two Republican senators told me tonight, this vote shows they can execute the same strategy again. Cut Democrats out of the negotiations on a government funding bill, pass it through the House, and expect Senate Dems to back down and not filibuster it. We liked it over here, one said.
Yep.
Oh, but Musk and Trump wanted the shutdown. That's why they
wanted the shutdown.
They didn't do it.
Yeah, that's why Trump threatened a primary challenge against Thomas Massie for voting against it. I mean,
just having our intelligence insulted every goddamn day.
It's ridiculous. I want to read the names.
Do you
of
know
this
how
man.
easy it would have been
Yeah.
to crash it in the Senate? Mike Lee and, if Trump went over to Mike Lee and to,
Yes.
what's his face?
Rand Paul.
Rand Paul and a couple others and said, this is your time to grandstand, guys. Just do it.
We
And
want
that
the
way we'll go
government
to
shut down.
Government shutdown.
Okay, these are the 10, folks. Schumer, Gillibrand, Dick Durbin, Angus King, Brian Schatz, Cortez Masto, John Fetterman, Gary Peters, Janet
Fetterman, who
Shaheen,
kept saying that he
Maggie
was going to
Hassan.
vote for it, my understanding, voted against the actual bill.
No, he's one of the...
Did he do yes? Are you sure about that?
Yes, I'm sure. He tweeted out his explanation that... no, not yes. He voted against the... That's what I'm saying.
No, but that's the thing, is that originally he was going to vote for...
But
both yes for cloture and yes for the bill, and even he realized that it was politically untenable for him to do that.
So, but the point being is he still tried to pull the fast one that Chuck Schumer thought he could, feed to people. The idea that a vote for cloture was not a vote for the CR. That's what Fetterman's explanation was, which is just
No one in the world,
insulting.
even anyone who knows what cloture is, understands the lie. Anyone who doesn't know what cloture is
Is not
too
paying
confusing.
attention to the entire thing at all.
Yeah, but that's what they
they're
rely
following.
on.
They're following the James Carvel's. Just give him 30 days and he'll do it himself. And it's this notion of we can just wait. I mean, how many times does that strategy have to fail?
Or for us to see the material implications of this government descending into kind of like a fascist authoritarianism. And Schumer said this. He said, I've been through shutdowns before. This is blah, blah, blah. This is not the same as before. And why is the Democratic Party at this all-time low with popularity prior to this? Maybe because all of the talk about the urgency of Donald Trump and how he's a threat to us, which your voters believed, isn't represented by the urgency of your actions. So you come off as liars, which you are. Liars. And they couldn't sell themselves as better in contrast when that was such an inauthentic proclamation at its outset, being proven by their actions. It's like the horrible ex everybody's had that says all the right things but never does what they're supposed to. In the end, you eventually break up because the actions aren't meeting the words.
Pull up this CNN poll, Matt, if you can just find this. This is was released yesterday. Among the public overall, the Democratic Party's favorability rating stands at 29%. This is a record low in CNN's polling dating back to 1992. To 1992.
Before I was born.
Oh, that's disturbing.
Sorry.
Bill Clinton won with 45% of the vote. And Bill Clinton's entire campaign was sort of built around this idea of we've got to run away from the Democratic Party. A drop of 20 points since January of 2021. Republican Party stands at 36%. And this is what's fascinating. Many in the party, this was taken in March 6th to 9. So about, I don't know, 4 or 5 days it ended before the Democrats capitulated to Trump, or those 10 did. Chuck Schumer did. Many in the party saying publicly their leaders should do more to stand up to President Trump. Democrats and Democratic-aligned independents say to do this 57 to 42%. That Democrats should mainly work to stop the Republican agenda rather than working with the Republican majority to get some Democratic ideas into legislation. Understand that relative to this time, more or less, probably September of 2017, 8 months into Trump's first term, 74% of Democrats, you remember the resistance at that time, 74% of Democrats in 2017 and Democratic leaders said their party should work with Republicans in an attempt to advance their own priorities, just 23% advocating for a more combative approach. And now the numbers are 57 to 42% flipped.
Prior to this.
In the days before
Yes.
Schumer does this. He is so out of touch where the Democratic Party is. So out of touch. Not just the voters. Here's an example of that right there. He has no clue what's going on. Completely no clue. Writes a book about anti-Semitism. I'm glad he did. Good for him. But it's about as relevant to this moment when you're capitulating to Donald Trump. I mean, during the Bush years, Josh Marshall had this theory that I doubt he talks about anymore because it's, but it was called the bitch slap theory of politics. That it didn't matter what it was that George Bush was doing and the Republicans were doing to the Democrats. He was beating them up. And what that communicated to Democratic voters was that if the Democrats can't even stand up for themselves, if they don't keep getting like personally and as a party humiliated, how are they going to stand up for us? There's like a meta story that's going on here. And every time you empower Donald Trump, every time you do not show an act of resistance or a willingness, and I understand, believe me, the impetus for saying harm reduction, but they're cutting SNAP benefits now.
Right.
They're destroying the Social Security Administration now. They're doing all of this to undermine these things now. They're wreaking terror now. It's ongoing. So you're quibbling about a matter of degree, but the big difference is in the second case, they're paying a massive political price, and there's actually like an opportunity for pushback and to stop the whole project.
Yep. And I mean, I think our friend of the show, Van Lathan, said this on Higher Learning, like even in reference to the Democrats, where people just, if you're fighting a bully, it doesn't matter if you win the fight. You've just got to land a punch. Just got to land a punch, because it's that quote that you just referred to from the Republicans. They know that in the fall, when they're not going to need Democrats, why would they seek the Democrats out? They could codify in the like more formal budget process all of this stuff that is so horrible that the Democrats agreed to, but without any Democratic input whatsoever, because this was the time to use leverage. It's the only point of leverage that the Democrats in the Senate have for the entire calendar year. For the entire calendar year. Because they don't need Democrats in the fall.
Nope. This is Schumer responding to questions from reporters about that provision in the Republican budget bill, which he helped pass, about Washington, D.C. Schumer's response was, first, Republicans made this mistake. It's in their bill, so they're responsible for it. Wait, what?
Why'd you vote?
His whole dynamic has been, we want to prevent harm. But when D.C. loses $1.5 billion in their budget because of this bill, he says, well, The tricky thing is Republicans are responsible for it now. This is completely contrary to to his perspective on the whole thing. But a number of them realized it was a mistake, and I think we can fix it, and I'd work with them to fix it. Somebody just pickpocketed you, and you're like, but, I'm going to talk to him and see if I can get my wallet back.
But I
handed it over to him.
This is when you talk about him being a concierge. This is what it is. Like, sorry, you're not a wartime leader. like the amount of urgency that is required here, he's completely incapable of. Because there's the other part of doing politics, which is like the communicating, the theater of it. Especially when you're out of power. Articulating the urgency of the moment is a part of that. And you do that with your actions. And you do that by demonstrating that to people. So he's not doing any of the politics that are required for a moment where we don't have actual power, where the Republicans have the Supreme Court, the executive branch, and both chambers.
All right, we got to take a break, head into the fun half of the program. We'll play Chris Murphy on this.
So much fun.
So much fun. Your support makes this show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajority.report.com. When you do, you not only get the free show free of commercials, you get the fun half. Also, don't forget, justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee. Use the coupon code majority, get 10% off. ESPN on hiatus. See what's...
Well, to be honest, I think for now, what we're going to reassess, but it does feel a little weird not to do ESPN without Bradley. He's my buddy on it. So I'm going to think about it a little bit more in full transparency.
All right, so deep hiatus.
Yeah. But, we'll work on some other things because right now, I just think like my whole investment right now is in politics. So I want to do even more on that front. To be determined.
It's always crazy when sports is going off and the world's falling apart at the same time.
I honestly, I've never been less engaged in sports recently, and it's because I just can't stop.
It's because you're a Giants fan,
and my team's.
It's weird. I don't think I've watched this many basketball games in years, and I'm doing it basically because I need an hour and a half
release.
Of escapism.
Yes.
Where it's the only time where I'm like, because you can't, unlike baseball. You can't look down at your phone in between plays or you're going to miss something. The game's so fast.
Right.
And so it requires like my undivided attention, of course, until I get to a timeout. And then I'm like, what's the latest on the on
who's been disappeared now?
Right.
Exactly.
But me watching Knicks games, I mean, that's already baseline. It's just like the level of obsessive engagement I don't have anymore. And it is because the Giants are really bad. Yes. Anyway, Matt, what's going on?
Left Reckoning.
Yeah, Left Reckoning, patreon.com/Left Reckoning. Become a member and get access to our Sunday shows, which include Dr. Abdul El Said talking about Medicare for All and also the attack on the NIH and just a horrific brain drain that we're seeing right in front of our eyes on top of everything else. And tomorrow, Kowalski going to be joining us for a farm report. So check that out, Left Reckoning. Go subscribe on YouTube.
Quick break, fun half.
You are in for it.
All right, folks, 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half.
Are you ready?
Who sent us this?
Alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
The alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just wanna degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it to my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Snowflake says what?
The alpha males are back.
You are a madman!
And the alpha males are back.
Oh no, Sam Seder! What a fucking nightmare!
Bring back DJ Dinner.
Yeah, or a couple of them, just put them in rotation.
DJ Dinner.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know if they're enough of a break. That's fucking nonsense.
See white people doing drugs, they look worse than normal white people, and all white people look disgusting.
And the alpha males...
Psych. Fuck them. Snowflake says what? Snowflake says what? A hell of a lot.